Hello and welcome to another episode of the Career Reset Podcast. If you don't know me, my name is Carolina and I am a career coach running my own business and helping people find jobs and change jobs and just figure out what's the right direction in their career. And typically on this podcast, I share about different tips and strategies and mindset shifts, like everything to help you succeed on the job market as it is today. But I decided to record something a little different today and actually talk about my entrepreneurship, how I run my business, because most of my clients, and I can imagine also most of my listeners, are people who are very ambitious, very intentional about their career. Probably you are someone who doesn't consider job like just a place where you go, you do your 9 to 5 and then you go home and it doesn't really matter what you actually do in your job. I can imagine that you are someone who really wants to have a successful career, who has different goals and different dreams about your future, and it's quite typical that entrepreneurship is on your mind. It's definitely on my clients' mind. It's either something they very intentionally want and it's something we work together towards, or it's something they're just considering as one of the options. And I love entrepreneurships. I think more people should be entrepreneurs because for me, it is absolutely the best thing possible to do this, because I get to do something I love. I get to do it in a way I love. I get to have more time to spend with my kid. I get to earn much more money than I would as an employee. So big fan of entrepreneurship. And I would really want to start sharing more about my journey, because I'm not this typical startup bro. I am not out there chasing investors. I don't have any kind of like a company that would have offices. I am just one me person doing everything by myself. And this type of entrepreneurship is relatively new. It doesn't get talked about that much. So that's why I thought it would be good to share a bit more about what it's actually like, because I am not yet definitely qualified to give some kind of advice that this is how to have a successful business, but I can share my experience, what I am going through, and I would like to do that in a more let's say continuous format. So what I'm thinking right now is that I will record one of these updates quarterly. So today I'm going to talk about my quarter one, so how my January to March went. It's gonna be actually pretty hard because I feel like January was 10 years ago. A lot has happened this year. And then depending how I enjoy it and how you enjoy it, what's the feedback, I am happy to share maybe more about it. And I actually, at the start of this year, I had this great idea that I could create this membership and share a bit more about my behind the scenes of being an entrepreneur and share it more regularly. I was planning like a one video per week. And when I started it in January, it was perfectly doable because I didn't actually have that many clients. And I thought that I will mainly be working on like a bigger organizational collaborations, more on that later. But then things changed because that's entrepreneurship. And I had to shift, or I didn't have to, but I decided to shift much more to working one-on-one with clients, and I've been able to find really cool clients and start really lovely collaborations. But then suddenly I just had like no time, because as I mentioned, I do everything myself. So I had to record the video, I had to edit it, like rewatch it back if it's all okay, publish it, engage with people in the community, and it just started taking a big chunk of my time, and it became the thing I started doing then in the evenings and weekends, and that's definitely not something I advocate for. So I was in a way going against what I preach, and even though it was a really hard decision and I really didn't want to like do it, I decided to close that community. And like that's entrepreneurship. You make decisions, you see how they go, and then you need to evaluate that decision and decide how to move forward. So I had to close that community. It's still something I definitely want to do in the future. Maybe when I have a smaller team, that I have some people who could help me with this more operational side of things and editing and stuff, I would be able to make it happen. But I don't want to, like, I still would like to share, and I get those questions quite a lot, specifically about entrepreneurship. So I decided that I'm just going to make it part of this podcast. And for those of you who are here only about hearing about careers and jobs, for you, I have plenty of past episodes and plenty of future episodes coming. So let's dive into my Q1 2026 review. So I have no preparations for this podcast because I was super busy this morning, and now I don't have that much time to actually record this episode, story of my life. At least it is my story with entrepreneurship, is that I always have some kind of theory how things will go, and then they go differently and I need to adjust. Because with everything I do, I always assume it's going to be easier and it's going to be more successful. And I'm always proven wrong. So that's how this year started. So I had super successful last year, November and December. I made over 10,000 euros in each of these months, and everything looked like I would be able to continue because I had a pretty good structure. So actually, I really wouldn't want to go in this episode into details like what's my business, what do I do, how do I find clients, how did I become an entrepreneur and all that, because I have a separate episode. And I am not sure what's the number. Let me check. Okay, it's episode 17. It's called How I Started My Business as an Unemployed Job Seeker. So listen to that first if you want more context for what I'm actually talking about here. I've super brief introduction. So I'm a career coach. I work one-on-one with people privately, like B2C, if you want to call it that way, that I just find individuals who are interested in my services. We set up an intro call, decide if we want to work together, and then I coach them, work with them, help with whatever they need for their career. Then I also last year started working with bigger organizations, so providing my services kind of through them. And then the third thing I do is that I sell an online course. I'm just actually now coming out of a relaunch of that course. That was a very interesting experience. I'm also gonna talk about it here today because that was a big part of this quarter. And as I mentioned, I do everything by myself. So I run the sessions, I do all my marketing, sales, accounting, like everything I do by myself. And on top of that, I have a small child, so my life is very much fun. So that's just to set the context. I don't have a very difficult business model, so you probably get what I do. But anyway, so this year started on a high. Everything was going well. Last year I had very successful last 3 months of the year. I basically only worked full-time for October, November, December. Before that I was on maternity leave and I was working naps and evenings. Not a great work-life balance, but because I did that, then I had very successful last quarter. And it's a thing in entrepreneurship, like you always think that if you get to a certain level, if you finally kind of make it, that's going to be your new standard and you're just going to like add more on top of it. And also because I used to work in smaller companies, you could say startups, and I saw this pattern there as well, that always when the company was able to get like one big client or one client from abroad, it was always like, it's happening. This is it. Now we are international business and more clients will keep coming and more big clients will keep coming. And that's never how it went. Nothing is guaranteed in entrepreneurship. Unless you keep doing the work and keep finding new ways to find clients, they are never gonna start coming just like out of nowhere. So luckily having this experience as an employee and seeing how if you relax and you start being like, okay, now it's just gonna happen and I don't need to do anything, how negative impacts that can have on the business. So I wasn't too comfortable. Like I knew I still gonna have to do the work, but I thought it would finally become easier. But then basically I started January making very ambitious plans, where I'm gonna be and how it's all gonna work out. And then because I made quite a lot of money last year, I wasn't under some pressure to quickly find new clients. So I was January just kind of figuring things out, making plans. And then I had quite a few big blows. So quite a few cases where something was kind of pre-agreed that it would happen. And then just circumstances outside my control, the things didn't happen. And those were like mainly related to bigger organizational agreements that were pre-agreed. But that's the thing, when I started, people told me that B2B is the best way to go and that's the easiest way to make money. And I don't agree with it. With my line of business, it is just not true, because there are so many more things that are happening that you just cannot control. There are so many conversations happening that you are not part of and you cannot influence. Like when I work B2C, I need to meet one person, I need to understand their one problem, and that one person needs to see the value for themselves, and if they see it and if they want to work with me, like it's done. It's a very simple process. But with B2B there's just so much that can happen, and this year things did not happen in my favor, let's put it that way. But I have been on this entrepreneurship journey for a while, and I know that the biggest mistake I used to do at the beginning is that every setback that happened to me, because it's mainly setbacks, I was dwelling in it for very, very long time. So if this kind of situation had happened when I started my business, I would like pull back on everything. I would stop sharing online. I would stop trying to find new clients. I would just be annoyed with it and feel sorry for myself, and trying to reimagine the business and doing all this like work on the back end. So like making new plans and different plans and changing my website and all these things that make you in a way feel very productive, but they are not very client gaining activities. And I cannot avoid making mistakes. This is my first time starting and running a business, but I am trying to, from each mistake, learn and not repeat it, because every repeated mistake is very, very costly. So I quite quickly, instead of hoping that the circumstances would change and that I could still somehow make it happen, I just decided that, okay, cool, it's not happening, I will find another way. And I really dived into finding more clients for my one-on-one coaching, and I was successful in that. And I would say this year I felt the clearest to actually communicate my value. I started being much more active on LinkedIn. That is my main way, only way almost, of finding clients. I don't think then maybe referrals is another way, but like LinkedIn is my main marketing tool, and I got like so many requests for working with me. I had so many intro sessions. Like not everyone is a good match for me, and I am not a good match for everyone, but it's been overall a really, really good success rate, to the point where I almost felt like I cannot even take more people on board. Definitely in, I think, March, that was definitely the month where I was like fully booked. It was also my most successful month financially. This year I also increased my prices, and I became much more confident in how I share the price, because I really, really deeply believe in the value that I provide. And that's also a big learning I have made over the last 3 years, that I have been an entrepreneur, that at the start I really went with like what money I want and how much I would want to charge, but then I just did not have that confidence in that price. So it showed that when the client asked me, okay, so how much is this, I started over explaining it, and it was visible that I was not very confident in it. And obviously, if I'm not confident that I can provide the value for this money, the client will definitely not feel confident in paying me that money. But right now I can say my pricing like this, and I am definitely undercharging. I know what some other coaches here in Finland charge, and those prices are ridiculous. And if they can like make that amount of money, then I am very happy for them, and I believe I can definitely get there. But right now, where I am at, I feel better for what feels to me like undercharging, because then I feel like I am definitely delivering on the value. And I think that if I was able to convince people to pay me more money, I would then in the sessions be very how to say, like, I would feel under pressure that, like, oh my god, are they getting the value, and was this session really worth this much money? Meanwhile, now I know that every single session is worth 10 times, and I can see how working with these people, I'm just teaching them skills they will use for the rest of their career. So one of very important topics we are talking about is decision making. That's so important in this job market, to not just sit and wait what happens, because typically nothing happens. You need to decide what kind of opportunities you want to go after. You need to decide how are you going to be showing up, how are you going to be building your personal brand and network. You need to decide then when you get into interviews that is it actually right for you. You need to decide what questions to ask. And that is like, if I'm able to teach my clients that, they're gonna make tens of thousands of euros just having this skill of being better at decision making. So my confidence in what I offer has definitely increased. So has my confidence in how much I can charge. So have my prices, basically, to put it simply. And it's like so connected that the more people I work with, the more value I can provide, the more different cases and stories I hear, and I can use that as an example to help someone else. And sometimes my clients come up with super smart strategies that I help them implement, and then I can share it with my other clients, and it's just super valuable. I've been thinking about maybe later in the year running some kind of group coaching program, because that would be more affordable and it would have this huge benefit of people actually learning from each other, because I'm a general career coach. I don't specialize in any particular field. I have a lot of experience with tech and business, with tech especially because I used to recruit for tech people, but everybody knows their field their best, and they know these like little strategies that then make sense for them and for their field. So that's what I've been doing. I've been working with my clients one-on-one, and also this year I made some big investments into my business. So if you have watched my entrepreneurship story, again, episode 17, I talk about that at the very start of my business, I invested in this program that like was helping coaches set up their business. And I have been, I think, exclusively relying on that. I haven't made any other major investments. I got maybe a few courses to help me with some specific aspect of my business. But this year I started feeling like I have reached some kind of a ceiling of how far I can get with my common sense and with the advice I got from this initial investment and from some free advice I consume over podcasts and LinkedIn and so on. So, and again, because I had a successful year last year, I decided that the best way to use the money at this point is reinvesting it into the business. And that is again something I learned from my previous work experience, that often when the company was able to get to some kind of money, the money was spent very, very quickly on things that did not necessarily grow the business. It was just spent on like expenses, not on investment. So I am very mindful of that, and I just let the money sit in my bank account, didn't like increase my daily spending, didn't upgrade my ways of living, anything like that, because I know I can regret it. But investing it back into the business seemed like a good idea. And in my case, in my business, that doesn't mean buying a new machine or hiring more people. For me, investing just means learning how I can run the business better. And one area I am definitely, or I wasn't before this quarter, I wasn't very strong at marketing, because that is not my field. I don't have any background in marketing. I never worked in that field. I had in my master's studies, I had one course on marketing, so I'm familiar with the words like funnel, customer journey, like I know what that means. But when it comes to practical implementation, I don't know anything about that. And up until now, I could kind of get away with just posting on LinkedIn and going with my common sense, but I feel like I now am ready for the next step. When I started my business, I just put together some kind of website without putting much thought into it, and I think that that was the right way. and anything like SEO, search engine optimization, and anything more like technical, like following some data from the website. At that point, when there were no visitors to the website, it just would not make any sense. But right now I feel like I'm at that level where I should start considering these aspects. So I actually started working with 2 different marketing consultants. So one of them helps me to improve my marketing around selling one-on-one coaching, and one of them helps me with selling my online course. And I have learned so much, and it's so amazing that when you are learning these skills but you're at the same time applying them to your own project, the learning is just completely different. But it's not just about doing the skills, but it's also about having the confidence to do it, because marketing is a lot about showing myself, showing my face, posting on LinkedIn, sending emails, recording podcasts. And all that takes confidence, overcoming fears, and being willing to show your face, because my business especially, it is about me. I work with the people, I deliver the service. I'm not selling any kind of product. Even my online course, it's like me talking, me teaching. So I am a very integral, inherent part of the business. But sometimes it can feel like by marketing a lot, I can be annoying people. I think that's what stops people the most. It's not about the lack of skills, but it's about the confidence to actually show up. And quite a few of my clients have been experimenting with some kind of vibe coding and with creating an app or a website that they want to start selling or making available. And there is that dream of that passive income. But the thing is that whatever service, whatever product, at whatever price, for whatever audience, you need to sell it and market it very, very heavily, like way more than you believe will be necessary for it to actually bring you any kind of income. So it's not very passive, these types of things. You need to be very, very active to actually turn it into some kind of income. So I also feel that by me learning these skills, I can then help my clients when this will be one of the goals they want to work on with me, because it's definitely coming up in our conversations that they are either considering this or they already have created something like that, and now it comes to the actual promotion where they get a little bit stuck. And it's not a fixed thing that either you have the confidence or you don't. When I started my business, I was posting twice a week on LinkedIn, I think. And it just required so much confidence and so much overcoming all these fears and self-doubt and worry that I will be annoying to people. And even just coming up with what I want to say, it was very overwhelming. But nowadays I post more than 5 times a week, and I have no like physical reaction to it. I just do it. I really enjoy it. I have lots of ideas, what I want to share. And same with podcasts. When I started, I thought that, that would be so cool to have a podcast, because I love podcasts. I listen to so many, and it's my favorite thing ever to listen to podcasts, but I just did not have that confidence, and it seemed so overwhelming, the thought to me. But now I don't think about it. I sit down, I construct my microphone, and because I have gone through this journey, I can now help my clients and tell them that let's start small, but you can definitely work yourself up to becoming more visible. And it's also absolutely essential when my clients want to, like, their goal is to succeed in their careers, and they want to be the people who get the cool jobs, who really take the high level positions, who work in the cool companies and all that kind of stuff. And nowadays, for that to happen, you cannot just have a very good experience and cool LinkedIn profile. You need to be very visible on LinkedIn, and you need to be well connected to the right people. Those two go kind of hand in hand. So if you don't have the confidence to show up online, it's not just about that, okay, you can't have a business, but you can't have successful career. That's just how it works nowadays. So I'm getting a bit sidetracked here, but the point is just that I have invested in me learning those skills, and I can see how super valuable it is, that it's an actual investment in my business that I can then help my clients with the same. I've been doing a lot of very technical things like setting up these SEO thingies to my website and changing some things about my podcast. And it's quite overwhelming. I still have a massive to-do list of things I want to do, and when I have more time, which seems that will never be the case, but I am still hopeful. But I'm planning to actually take the rest of April and a part of May to dial a little bit back on very active promotion of my services and doing a little bit of these back-end things. It's like constant balance when you are a solo entrepreneur, that you need to do the day-to-day things, but you need to also think of some kind of strategy, that where is this all actually going. And that's still something I'm very much figuring out, that I'm super focused on the day-to-day, on my clients, what they need, what I want to teach them, what I want to go through with them. And then this higher level thinking gets sometimes a little bit neglected. And then the other investment I made was into how to learn to sell my online course, Career Incubator, which is the most valuable resource I can offer to job seekers right now. So if someone is unemployed, looking for a new job, then this is the resource I want to point them to, because it's the most affordable. It's way more affordable than working with me one-on-one, and it covers everything you could possibly need when looking for a new job. I've been also adding some new bonuses to it. I created the course already 2 years ago, so it's not a new resource, but I still get a lot of success stories with it, so it's great to see that it actually still works even in this very tough economy. And I used to offer it like all the time, but that was kind of confusing because I just had people randomly buying it at random times, and I always want to make sure that I kind of follow up with the people who are inside, that I check in on them, how they are doing, and I can answer questions. But if this was happening throughout the year, I never remembered when the people got the course, where are they? I forgot to check in with them. So now I decided to make it a little bit more structured, that I always open the course for a certain time for purchase, and then I close it, and I just keep in touch with the people who are inside. And that 1 week when the course was open is ending today. So I've been in the past week, I've been very heavily promoting it, like reframing my mind about it, that what is actually promotion, and that I am only sharing it with the people who want to hear about it. I've been sending lots and lots of emails, and I've been having lots and lots of unsubscriptions, which is so funny because I am the biggest unsubscriber ever. I don't subscribe to any newsletters. And immediately when I sign up for something and then I start getting some many email sequence, I unsubscribe immediately. And for me, it's nothing personal against the person. I just don't like getting emails, because as an entrepreneur, I get a lot of emails like from my clients, from my accounting software, and I'm really terrified that I will miss out on something important. And if my inbox is filled with some random newsletters, it can happen that these very crucial messages get lost. So I'm the biggest unsubscriber, but when someone unsubscribes to me, I take it so personally. It hurts physically. And this consultant that I work with, she was just telling me like, it's fine, like this is not gonna be for everyone. You need to be okay with some people unsubscribing, but then on the other hand, there are some people who are still reading the emails and who need to have this information. So it's been very much emotionally challenging time. But I think that is one big thing that separates people who make it, who are successful entrepreneurs, and those who never really break through. Because as an entrepreneur, you need to be willing to accept a lot of discomfort. You need to be ready that people will say no to you, that people will tell you that they are not interested in what you have to offer, that they will be actively annoyed with you promoting things. And that's, of course, it generates some kind of negative emotion unless you are an absolute psychopath and these things just don't affect you. They still to some extent affect me, but it's just about like having that experience once, and then you know you can survive it again. And definitely that worry that if you are sharing something online that you will be annoying to people, that's very common. But on the other hand, like social media and emails and podcasts and videos and all that kind of stuff. You can take it or leave it. Nobody is forcing you to consume any kind of content. You make a choice to consume a content, and then if you don't like it, you can consume a different type of content. That's the way I approach it, and I don't see anything personal behind it. But then when it comes to me promoting my services, it's of course sometimes creates these feelings of discomfort. And we were actually yesterday with my husband, we were watching the White Lotus, the series on HBO. I love it. It's so great. But there are so many like very, very cringy scenes. This like painful cringe moment when you cannot even watch the screen, and my husband was just like falling off the couch, covering his eyes, that he just cannot watch that cringe. And I was just laughing that it's just a scene on a TV, nothing is happening physically to us. And it's the same with marketing. You just need to you feel a negative emotion for a while, but that it's a requirement to make it. I cannot expect that I will sit at home and provide the best service ever and anyone will care if they don't actually know about it. And with those two investments I made this year, I really decided that I need to approach it so that I pay for this advice and then I just implement everything that I am told. Because definitely in the past, when I consumed some advice related to business, I always then run it through the filter of, do I actually want to do this, or do I agree with this? And then I reduced the percentage of what I implemented to the minimum. So then the results actually were very minimal. Like, wow, what a revelation moment. If you want for advice to work, you actually need to implement it. But I'm definitely the type of person that I will consume a lot of things and watch videos and listen to podcasts. And just from consuming the knowledge, I will feel very inspired and very motivated, but I will not change anything about how I go about my day-to-day life. So then like nothing actually changes, but then I feel annoyed that that advice didn't work, even though the problem was that I just didn't implement it. So I was very much focusing on implementing the advice, even though I don't want to say agree with it, but even if that felt uncomfortable and I felt like I knew better, but if I really knew better, I wouldn't need that advice. And one of the consultants told me that you just need to send so many emails because people don't read all of them, people don't open all of them. And it felt so uncomfortable, like I'm talking to my toddler, like put shoes on, put shoes on, put shoes on. I just felt really silly. And still after I felt like I repeated myself so many times, I got a question that like, so you mean I should put my shoes on? I said it like 20 times in all the previous emails, just like proving the point that it really takes a lot. Like as an entrepreneur, you need to put so much time and effort into promotion. It's actually crazy. And if someone had told me when I was starting, like how much I would actually need to do, I maybe would have never decided to be an entrepreneur, because as I mentioned at the start, I always go into everything with some kind of theory that how much it's going to require and what is going to be the result. And then it's completely different than what I imagined. But I have to say that I am very proud of myself that when I see how much I'm showing up now and how much I showed up in the past, it's like a very big difference, and then the difference just shows in how much money I'm making. It's a very simple equation in the end. And another exciting thing that happened this quarter is that I have been invited to more speaking opportunities. On this Wednesday, I am going to alumni event of the university where I did my bachelor's here in Finland, and they invited me and two other people for a panel discussion to talk about entrepreneurship, which is like so crazy that when I graduated from that university, I was at a very, very different point in life. It was in 2020. COVID was well on its way, and I was in a job that I was super, super miserable about. Like, I felt that my career is absolutely doomed. I was very unhappy about my career, and it didn't even occur to me to be an entrepreneur. I thought like, no, that is not for me. So the fact that I am now 6 years later I will be there speaking on entrepreneurship is very, very cool. And I want to take that opportunity to encourage more people to go that path, because I still hear so many things that I just don't agree with, that entrepreneurship is risky and that it's only for chosen people and that you need to have so much to make it, because it's just not true. I want to definitely talk about this more on LinkedIn, but I really struggle to see the risk in the type of business that I'm doing. I didn't need any kind of investment. I didn't need to make any sacrifices or anything. I just had to work really hard on being visible and creating services that people want to buy and finding customers and selling to them. And in that process, I learned so many valuable skills that I am now in a much safer position, because even if I had to or wanted to find a full-time job, I would be at much better place than if I just was going through job to job. And I often think that we repeat these sentences like entrepreneurship is risky without really thinking, and where is the risk? And then on the other hand, there are these waves of layoffs. There is this myth that being an employee is very safe, but even in Finland, where the employment laws are very much on the side of the employees, we are seeing these massive, massive waves of layoffs. Some of them are for economic reasons, but some of them are changes in strategy and that the company wants to use more AI and less people, so they just lay off a third of their employees like this, and you can't do anything about it. You can just sit and wait and hope you won't be affected. Meanwhile, as an entrepreneur, you have so many more levers you can pull when things seem that they are not going in the right direction. You can try so many different things. So this is something I am, as you can hear, very passionate about. I want to break the myth that entrepreneurship is risky and employment is safe. I'm not saying that this is like always the case. Not all types of entrepreneurship are safe. Some are very risky, some that require very heavy capital, a lot of money to even get started. And sometimes employment can be the right option, but it's just not always the case. So promoting entrepreneurship is definitely something I want to be talking about, and I'm very happy that I will have the opportunity to do so. And thinking what else happened the past quarter, well, I've been super consistent with my podcast. So I actually released the podcast in 2024, and I think I published 5 episodes in that whole year. Like, it was constantly on my to-do list. Every single week I had a to-do item that record a podcast, publish a podcast, but I just created so much drama around it in my head that but I don't know what to talk about, and it takes so long to record it, and it takes so long to edit it, and I hate listening to my own voice. And then this year I just got very tired with myself with constantly repeating these complaints, and I thought that, oh my god, is it really that big of a deal? Can't you just sit down, record something, edit it and publish it? Less smart people than me can manage that, so I can manage that also. And I have, with a few exceptions, posted an episode every single week, so that is very, very cool. And I started the year with a very clear plan that, like, Mondays I'm going to do this, Tuesday I'm going to record my podcast. And, well, today's Monday, so it doesn't work very well. But it's actually very, very hard to, now that I have quite many clients and I need to schedule the calls with them every week. So for days that work for them, obviously, then, for example, I review their profile or CV in between our sessions, and it is just like, it's a lot. So it now takes me much less to record and edit the podcast, but still I usually talk for at least an hour, usually more, and then I edit it so that it's not that long. But to find that time, it is not that easy in the end. And I need to create all my setup and clean up the mess and have a nice background behind me. So it's not that easy, but I was able to make it work. And it's like with everything, obviously, the more I do it, the better and faster I am at it. I now need to edit the podcast much, much less than I had to at the start. I think that the way I speak, like, there is much better flow to it. I say the word like much less often. It's crazy when I'm editing the podcast. I can say a sentence that has like 5 times the word like, and it's crazy. I never noticed it before, but now I've become very much aware of it. So, like, just in general, I think this quarter was really about very quickly recovering from things not going the way I expected, and actually being pretty successful at it. I made every month pretty good money. It wasn't over 10,000 like I did last year, but on the other hand, right now all my income is just from my one-on-one clients. Like I don't have any B2B income at the moment, it's all B2C. So even with that, I'm able to make a pretty decent money. So that's a good evidence for me that it can work either way. And it's very nice to know that I can now, like if one income is not happening, I can find a different way to make it happen. And I feel like I've been much braver, showing up much more on LinkedIn, showing up much more on my podcast. And this year and last year was obviously still very much like I had a very small baby. I was on maternity leave most of the time, so I was very sleep deprived. A lot of the year recovering physically, and it was a lot about survival and also enjoying that I had this baby and I wanted to spend time with her. But this year I feel again that there is much more time and space and energy to focus on me and on my business. And there is, I think it's not even possible at this point that I would give birth this year. I can't do the math, but that's not definitely not the plan for this year. I want to somehow stabilize myself and stabilize my business and enjoy it, because I feel like I've been since the start in a lot of disappointments mode and this push mode, and I need to just like power through, and there wasn't much to celebrate. But this year there definitely is a lot of great things happening that I want to celebrate, be it the monetary successes or just celebrating that I'm showing up and that I'm getting better at things and I feel much more confident. And it's very easy to forget about the little things, like the amazing flexibility I have, that I can just travel. I don't need to ask for permission to work from home or work from abroad or just take the day off if I don't feel it. I can pick up my daughter from daycare without worrying that I will need to catch up on work in the evening. It's just in a way such an easy life that I built for myself, but it's become the norm, so that I don't always acknowledge it. And it's not about being grateful, because nobody handed it to me. This is all my doing, so I can only be grateful to myself, but just acknowledging that how proud I am that I made this work, and that 3 years ago I kind of was able to look a bit long term, and I was thinking that okay, we want to have kids, and how is it gonna work when we are both 9 to 5 at work, and then we need to bring our kid to daycare, and then the daycare is closed in the summer, and how are we supposed to make that happen? And seeing from our friends who are at full-time jobs, like it's not easy, it's just logistically so much more difficult. So again, bringing me to my earlier point that entrepreneurship can be the smart choice. For example, to have a much better work-life balance and to just be able to handle these daily logistics of taking kids to different places. So again, that's something I want to talk about more in the future, and a little bit more for my plans for the next quarter. So I'm actually flying to Madrid on Thursday for 5 days with a friend of mine. It will be the longest I have been away from my child, so I'm a little bit stressed. What kind of impact it will have on me and on her and on my husband, who will need to be the whole time with her. So I'm not planning to work there at all, but when I come back, I want to focus on my one-on-one clients. This month I will be wrapping up with at least some of them, unless they want to renew. So opening new spots. So if you want to see what that would be like working together, if you have some kind of career goals you would like my help with, if you are thinking about entrepreneurship, after I have encouraged that in this episode, we can definitely talk about that. You can fill out the form in the show notes, and I will then send you a booking link to a free intro session, and we can see if I would be the right coach for you and for your career, basically. So that's definitely the main plan for the next quarter, and we are actually halfway through April already. then, as I mentioned, I would like to give myself a bit more time to handle all the backend stuff I've been neglecting, and I now have much better skill set to actually handle. And then one exciting thing I'm working on is a new resource for helping people with interviews, because that's something that my online course is not so explicitly addressing. And I've been hearing from more people who are able to get the interview invites, but they are not proceeding in interviews. And that can be so disheartening when you get that interview invite and then you don't proceed, and you feel like there were things you could have done better and you could have communicated better in the interview. So, and that is something I have a lot to say about as a former recruiter, as someone who was running interviews. I know what are the things that are subtle, but they can contribute to the decision of hiring someone else over you. And I know often the reason is we went with a candidate who has more experience, but that's something they can already see from the CV. If they say that as a reason in the interview, then there are probably other things that you didn't pay enough attention to, and that's what I want to address in this new, it will be like a mini course. I'm thinking like maybe 2 to 3 lessons. So that's what I will be creating and hopefully releasing maybe in May. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye on that. I will definitely be promoting that a lot so that you will not miss out. And feel free to let me know what topics you would like me to cover on the podcast. What are you going through in your career? As much as I love recording this podcast, they are very one-way conversation. And when from time to time someone reaches out and just tells me that they enjoyed some episode, that it resonated with them, it feels really, really nice. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this new format about me sharing a bit behind the scenes of my entrepreneurship. And for this specific topic, I will see you by the end of this quarter too. But in the meantime, I will see you with other episodes that are again more related to all things careers. Okay, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.